So, NLP, 40 years and thriving. First I thought, I make a mistake sometimes when I do presentations in not actually introducing myself. So I thought this time I'd actually slide up there to remind myself that I'm Karen Moxom. As David said, I am the Managing Director of ANLP. Took that over in 2005. And I also am the publisher and editor of Rapport magazine. We also edit a number of other journals, Acuity and the Research Journal. I am also an author, which is sometimes I very often forget. Actually, the most important thing is I'm a mum. My two boys are my inspiration, and they're the reason that I stand up here, is because of them. They're very, very special. And in my spare time, yes, I do have some, I'm also a member of rock choir. And I promise I'm not singing today. So, 40 years on. My intention was to take us down a trip down memory lane, to remind ourselves some of the stuff that was happening 40 odd years ago. Having said that, looking at the audience, I think actually this may end up my trip down memory lane and a history education for the rest of you. So apologies in advance. There's a little bit of a test in here somewhere. So just to remind ourselves where we have come as a society in the last 40 years. And if we start with my favourite subject, technology. In April 1975, Bill Gates actually set up Microsoft. So we didn't have any issues with Microsoft before then. Those of us that have a PC, they have something different to say now. And of course we know where Microsoft has come in the last 40 years, and Bill Gates in particular. He has aged, but actually he's aged with style. And of course not far behind, in June 1975, was the Apple. That is the first Apple computer. And we all know how sleek and stylish and beautiful they are today. I don't have one, I would like one. Now, little test. Who remembers playing this game in the 1970s? You're older than I thought. Does anybody remember what it was called? Pong. Absolutely. So yes, that was our sole entertainment as young people in the 70s. Well, it wasn't, because we went and did lots of other things, but if we wanted to use a computer, that was it. And of course now, if we are so inclined, that is the level of computer graphics, and that is almost like being on the field with the players. But that's a huge amount of technological advancement in 40 years. And of course, where would we be without the mobile? Now that mobile would not have fitted in my handbag, I may have had to have had a suitcase. But at least they had mobiles in the 70s. Whereas now, of course, we have everything that we can do on our mobile. It's not just for taking a phone call. So then we move on to lifestyle. So how has our lifestyle changed in the last 40 years? So if you were old enough to drive in the 70s, this is a Mazda coupe. If you have enough money. This is today's Mazda coupe. I think that's an improvement in technology. And how about what we play our music on? I had a gramophone in the 70s. I now have an MP3 player. Well, actually, I use my phone. But one of the many things, the difference of how we can play music now. And who are we listening to? I didn't actually like the Bay City Rollers much. I think I've always been a bit of a mismatcher. And of course nowadays, they'll be the people that are floating our boat, if we're so inclined. This is the television we might have been watching. I actually struggled to find a picture of a television that didn't look like a microwave. I still think that looks a little bit like a microwave. But all it could do was eventually warm up and show us a TV programme, probably in black and white. Now, of course, we have entire systems to entertain us, and we probably spend quite a bit of time sitting in front of them. So what were we watching? What was media doing for us in the 70s? Now, first of all, you'll notice the quality of photos has actually changed a great deal between the 70s and now. So, anybody remember these guys?
Yes.
Yay! I always preferred Starsky. Now, of course, we have, I did notice actually, we do still have the Starsky look-alike, and we've still got the blonde. But that's more it's more round the table now rather than chasing cars. Intelligent. Our female icons of the 70s. I, for one, am certainly quite relieved that nowadays I wouldn't be expected to go around wearing an outfit like that. And how about our TV chefs? Who remembers this lady? Annie Cravat and her doting husband. Whereas, of course, now we do still have our male-female chef combination. And no presentation matching the 70s to now would be complete without Doctor Who. I don't know if you still keep up with the series, but I actually really like the new Doctor Who, and it's just as scary as it was in the 70s. So last but not least, what about communication? So in the 70s, it's quite possible that we'd have written a letter and then not heard back for at least a week. Whereas now, my son helped me with the right wording. But everything is so instant nowadays, isn't it? It's now, email's the same, want a response now. But thank goodness we've got NLP, because my golly, we need it to help translate some of these communications that take place nowadays. So some of you might have been observant at the beginning when I flashed up the ANLP logo, and you will have noticed that we have our own EPIC values, which are that we are ethical, professional, act with integrity, and we're credible. And all of our members have those same values. But it was quite interesting to actually just take that acronym, EPIC, and say, what does this mean with the 40 years since NLP started? And with what I've just shown you with how things have changed in that time. It means that we're evolving. It means that we're progressive. Things move on. It means that we're innovative. Just look at the record there. And it means that things change. And that is good. We may not always feel comfortable with that. That doesn't mean it's not good. It is good to change, to evolve. That's why we're here today. Because NLP has done the same. So if we were to go back 40 years in NLP, that's how it started. 3 young men, one of them at the back there, and they had an idea. They played with it, they had some fun. But what they did created a whole field of what we have today. So now, we've got hundreds and thousands of books to support the field. We've got CDs. You go onto Google and over 3 million entries come up when NLP is the search term. We've got trainings happening all over the world. That's a picture of one from the Far East. we have the NLP conference, and we even have a research journal. The research journal was actually launched at the House of Commons in 2010. So we have evolved tremendously from where NLP was 40 years ago. And I think what's really key here is that we have a huge amount to be grateful to John and Richard and Frank for. Because what they did was they created a field that has evolved. They planted that seed that has grown to all of us being here today and many more that can't be here. And they gave us the key. They gave us the key that unlocks the door of opportunity and possibility. Now there are loads and loads and hundreds of people who've stepped through that door in the last 40 years. There's no way in the time I've got that I could tell you about all of them, unless we've got 3 days just for this. So what I did is I've just got some of the good news stories that I know about, that people have told me about, and it's just a small selection of all the fantastic stuff that is happening in NLP today. So this is Julie. Julie is an NLP trainer. Around the year 2000, Julie was diagnosed with ADHD, and both her twin sons were diagnosed with Asperger's. So Julie decided to put her NLP training to good use, and she devised a course called Using NLP to Manage Asperger's, Autism and ADHD. Now over the years, that course has been taken up by various national organisations and some local ones. And what happened with Hertfordshire County Council when they took up the course was they actually tracked some of the work and how it impacted on their organisation. And they were able to report, she was running this course for carers of adults that were caught up in the Hertfordshire County Council system. And they were able to report that as a result of the carers doing Julie's NLP training, with one case in particular, the council saved £89,000 a year because the carers were able to manage these particular adults, so they actually didn't need any care at all from Hertfordshire County Council anymore. But across the board they were making savings, which is just amazing. This is John. John is an NLP trainer. John decided that he wanted to go for a big piece of work. And he realised that actually the thing to do was to be collaborative with what he did. So he teamed up with a couple of larger organisations. He completely changed their NLP training, and they won a contract with Jaguar Land Rover. Not only did they win a contract with Jaguar Land Rover, that contract, actually, that training that they're doing, actually won the CIPD award earlier this year. That's their NLP training. What he now does is he runs 2 introductory NLP courses a month, 5 practitioners a year, and 2 master practitioners a year, all for their in-house staff. And those courses, out of a range of courses that are available to staff, are fully booked up to 2016. This is Gemma. Gemma is an NLP trainer. And what Gemma did was work with her delegates, work with her students, and she's created a fantastic online platform of support for her students. She's also created an amazing franchise which teaches NLP for people who work with children. So it's for parents and it's for teachers. Not only did Gemma was highly commended in an awards ceremony earlier this year, and I hasten to add, she only came second to the National Childbirth Trust. But she has also taken courage in both hands, and she has opened what I believe to be the first NLP on the high street. shop, if you like. So NLP now has a presence on the high street. And I'm full of admiration for Gemma for doing that. I'm also incredibly lucky because it just so happens that shop is in Hemel Hempstead where I live. Lisa and Rick. They're NLP trainers. But they're also integral parts of the R&R project, the Research and Recognition Project. The Research and Recognition Project has been running for a few years now and focusing at the moment on developing protocols for PTSD and getting proper research in place for these. Now, earlier this year, they actually secured $300,000 worth of training. And what they've done with that training is they've taken a number of people, a number of war veterans, through the PTSD protocols and measured what's happened. And I'm going to read at this point part of the report that they sent us. As the protocol was tested under strict scientific standards for the first time, it has produced results which match previous success levels. Are we surprised? In the current study, 74% of the programme completers terminated treatment with complete and permanent elimination of the symptoms of PTSD in less than 5 hours of treatment. What they are doing is incredible and really significant for NLP. This is Nick. I came across Nick earlier this year when his NLP trainer told me of the NLP project, the NLP modelling project he'd done for his practitioner course. Nick is in the army, and a few years ago he did level 1 of his ammunition and explosives training, which effectively means he's in bomb disposal. For his modelling project, he decided to model very courageously those people who achieved level 4, which is the top level in bomb disposal, and he modelled them against himself because he was aware that he only achieved level 1, and he wanted to know what that difference was that made the difference. His modelling project is absolutely stunning, and when he sent it to me, again I'd like to actually quote what he said. My hope with this project is that it will be used to approach the training of bomb disposal experts in a different way. This will generate greater numbers of experts, ease the pain on the current few, and add to UK capability in this area. When that is achieved, NLP will seem a credible option to assist in improving other aspects of the military. And he is taking that project and talking to the army about it. This is Tracy. Tracy works in the NHS. And I'd just like to read you something that actually is very, very emotional. Imagine I am a patient in the middle of the night on a busy medical ward. I am thirsty and I am in pain. As I look around, what do I see? Staff in conflict, arguing, being disrespectful. What do I hear? Raised voices, breaches of confidentiality. How does it feel? I am scared to ask for a drink in case there are repercussions. Eventually, I pluck up the courage and press the buzzer. I wait and wait. And after what seems like hours, a nurse arrives, sighs at me, and rolls her eyes. What? She says. I ask for a drink, only to be told, for heaven's sake, there are people a lot sicker than you on this ward. This was a real complaint from a real patient in an English NHS trust. And 2 days later, this patient died. This complaint caused the matron on that ward to whistleblow. And that was when they involved Tracy with what they were doing. When they actually investigated further, they discovered that in the previous 6 months on this ward, they'd had 33 complaints, there were 42 active HR issues, sickness and absence rates were 6.68%, and days lost to stress and anxiety in the last 6 months were 378. Plus, there were high rates of infection and pressure ulcers and falls on the ward. So what Tracy did was a 4-step intervention. She did some personal coaching with each of the staff, then she ran some workshops, then she did the ultimate perceptual positions by doing a role reversal, and then they did the evaluation, which was both immediate, shadowing, and results 6 months later. After Tracy's work, 6 months later, complaints were 0. There was only 1 active HR issue. Sickness and absence rates had dropped to 3%. Days lost to stress, anxiety in the previous 6 months had dropped to 34. And there was a reduction in all the challenges that the patients were facing. Tracy won 2 national awards for this, a Training Journal Award, and she won an award from the Nursing Times. More importantly, as a result of this work, Tracy was introduced to Prince Charles. And when he asked her what she had done, she managed to very clearly state that what she had done was an NLP intervention. So whilst all that goes on, what's happening behind the scenes? I'm really proud to be able to say that over the last few years, all the main organisations that have representation in the UK, we have been working together with purpose. So after a gathering at the 2011 conference, in 2012, working with representatives from all of those bodies, we established a congruent set of master trainers criteria. I put master in inverted commas because the professional guild don't actually call them master trainers, but for the purposes of today, it's easier to just say that. In 2013, again, in 2014, I'm really excited to be able to say that what we've been working on this year is actually a UK NLP Ethics Committee, which does have its own website, and it has buy-in from all of the major organisations listed here. That is the front page of our website, which was launched this morning. We still have a long way to go with that, and the important thing is that we are working together and we are starting to create some powerful things like this that are going to make a difference to the field of NLP. So what about the next 40 years and beyond? We come back to those epic values. I would encourage each and every one of you to embrace that change and get excited about what we've still got to do and what you can do. I would encourage you to stand proud and be proud of what you represent in the NLP community. And be prepared for what's still to come. I'd encourage you to be inquisitive. and wonder what you could do to be part of what's going on. And be inspired by those people we've just talked about, and more. I'm pretty certain, I'm very confident that if you turn to your left or turn to your right, there will be something inspirational what everybody has done in this room. Be courageous. Do what some of those people have done and take a stand. And maybe we'll all be there telling Prince Charles about our NLP interventions. And stay connected with everything that's going on in the NLP community. Because it is our community and it's our responsibility. Some of the ways you can do that, just this weekend, there's a survey that you can take part in. We have a green paper about moving forward a positive future for NLP. There's copies available on our stand, and as soon as I've pressed a few buttons on our website after this, they will be available to download as well, along with some of the background work for all the people I've spoken about today, some greater depth to what they've talked, what I was telling you about. There's also a LinkedIn discussion that you can get involved with so that you can play a part in creating that future. So what I would do, finally, is to encourage every single one of you to step through that door of opportunity and possibility and create your own epic NLP. Thank you.